of our time.
Okay,
Okay, you already sent me your release form. Yeah,
I did.
I thought so. Yeah, I think you were one of like right on it. Okay, so we are going to do a clarity session together. You understand it's going on YouTube, so anybody and everybody can see it and judge us and leave shitty comments that I will quickly delete. Delete them all.
Okay.
Delete them all. There's like
We're
a
gonna
little.
we're gonna bravely live in the projection field.
Yes, yes, right. Okay,
I'm
so
a 5'1", so
right, yeah, that fifth line, man, I tell you. Sometimes
yeah,
it's like, what was I thinking being born into this?
yeah.
So you had several things on your intake form, but sometimes by the time we get here, having to fill out that form changes them. So I just want to check
Mm,
and see where you would like to start.
That's a great question. Well, I'd love for you to read back to me what I said on the intake form
Okay, let
because
me
I
grab
don't
it.
remember.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
okay. I've got it. Oops, maybe I don't have it.
I have a couple ideas, but I'll be interested to see if it lines up with what I said, 2 weeks ago.
Okay, it was lots of good things happening, like really good. Fear being seen, judged. Talk about fear, jumping into fear being seen and judged when you're doing a live session that's going to be publicly posted.
That's right.
Career work, focusing on adoption field with a niche of reunion support for adoption constellation members, adoptive
Yeah.
parents, educating professionals. You're a
Mhm.
reunited adopted person. Yeah. And your daughter is
Yep,
adopted.
correct.
You are dragging your feet and procrastinating and distracting yourself with busy work and not putting this mission first. And you said it's emotionally brutal. Just those are strong words. You're exhausted, overdoing your inner work, and haven't really launched into the world. Okay, so your three wishes are publish your third book about adoption reunions in 2026, marry,
hmm
buy a house, internationally travel regularly. I am so with you on that one. At least one trip a year. Publishing your third book about adoption reunions in 2026, to me, that seems like a no-brainer.
Good.
But this stuff is in your way. Yeah.
Yeah,
You have
for
two books
sure.
already, so we know it's not the mechanics of, I mean, writing any book is agony and like an
Yeah.
experiment in things going wrong. Like even you could spend a whole day or more just trying to get the files uploaded to Amazon and the cover to fit right and all the things. Yeah. So when I'm even talking about this, like I can feel like a churning in my stomach a little bit.
Mm.
So like fluttering. So if you could put it out on a platter, what is it? Why are you avoiding it?
Um, I think it's worthiness
Okay.
and fear of visibility. I mean, as I'm writing this book, it's all going back to what is called or referred to in the adoption community as the primal wound, which is that separation of infant from mother.
Okay.
Um, and I think I've spent my entire life really um, with carrying that trauma. And even though I have done so much work, I mean, like, it's insane how much work I've done: therapy and
I
coaching and
know.
classes and reading books and
Well, you're a
all the
good
things.
student. You're a good student and you are diligent
Mhm.
and you do your work. Like I know that you don't fuck around. Like you don't.
Right. I
You
don't.
don't mess around. I always love when you come for a session because you're focused and you're here to get the job done and you're not fooling around. So one
Right.
thing I want to say first is if you're putting something off and dancing around something, it must be pretty painful. Also,
Mm.
what if it's an unhealable
Yeah.
wound? What if it never
Yeah.
changes? You familiar with Chiron in astrology?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I I would encourage you to look that up and see what that's about, if there's any relationship. Because Chiron's energy is the centaur with the unhealable wound. And it feels like your work has been focused on getting rid of it, making it go away.
Mm. Instead of learning to carry it. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. What would it be like? So let's just say you've done all this work, you've probably spent a fortune and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and lots of tears and lots of pain, and it hasn't worked. So if we get to that point, then we have to go, okay, what's the opposite? What if we completely reverse direction and go, okay, well, I've done everything I can to scrub the stain out of the carpet. I've put a vase over it. I've tried to cut the fibers out. And you know what? This stain is just not going away. And I can't replace the carpet. So, how do me and this carpet stain learn to live with each other? What do you think about that?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that feels true
Yeah,
when you say that. I mean, it feels accurate. And I think, yeah, I mean, all the emotion, as soon as you start talking to me,
I
all
know.
the
I can
emotion
feel it
comes up.
now.
So I'm like, okay, I know we're on path here. And so the only thing I can do is make it better for my daughter, who is also an adopted person. We had a really interesting conversation yesterday. She's 14, thinking about wanting to reach out to her birth mom, who so far has stated that she's not interested in contact, but we are reunited with her birth dad. And we were talking about it, and I said, I would have never looked when I was your age. I said, I was 29 and I still wasn't old enough. And she said, but you felt like you were betraying your parents, right? And I said, oh, yeah. I said, I was so
Oh,
scared to look for my birth family. And she said, but mom, I don't feel like I'm betraying you. She said,
oh,
because you understand, you get it. And we talk about this. And she's like, I don't feel that at all. She's like, I feel totally supported.
oh,
And so, that's when I think, okay, so maybe that's part of all of this for me, is to
yeah.
do it different for the next generation, to break the ancestral wounding,
And the
to do
shame.
it differently.
It feels like there's a quality of shame busting here.
Hmm.
When I doubt that when you were growing up, correct me if I'm wrong, that anybody ever talked to you about the shame that surrounds adoption or surrounded adoption. I don't know what the current state of affairs are. But when I was a kid, kids who were adopted felt embarrassed by it, ashamed of it, didn't want to talk about it.
Mhm.
Did you have that? Were you?
Um, it's an interesting question. Not so much, although I was teased about being adoption, and that was hurtful.
Mm,
But my parents framed it in a way that was, we loved you, you were loved. Um, we're going to be open about this. They didn't
right.
talk about the trauma so much because, of course, in the 70s, we didn't talk about the trauma. Now we talk about the trauma and we say, we know this is really shitty.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
but but I'm sure I probably did have some shame, but I think it was more like embarrassment, discomfort. And honestly, what it was, and I've used this language before, but I just felt like an alien. I just felt like I didn't fit, like I didn't belong, like not only in my family, but just on the planet. Like I just didn't feel until I met my birth family.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah, and that changed everything.
I I absolutely believe in what you're doing because a lot of times kids need a template that they don't have because they don't have adults who can model you can get past this. Whether you find your birth parents or not, you can at least come to terms with and start to mine the pain for the gold, to start to sift the jewels from the ashes of destruction of that bond. And you offer that. And that's amazing. But let's go back to when we talk about it, you have immediate emotional response. Yeah. So
Yeah, yeah. I'm
some,
like
yeah,
weird.
that's okay. Sometimes emotional response is trauma we need to release. But when we've done it again and again and again and it's not releasing, so that's okay. Like sometimes that emotion is you're wrong. The way you're thinking about it is wrong. And your body is going, that's
Mm.
not true. What you're saying is not true. What you're feeling is not true. And the misalignment creates tears in the body. Do you know what I mean? Like you're,
I'm not totally following.
yeah. So, and everyone has to feel for themselves what the emotional response is about. But I know because you really, when you say you've done the work, you really have done. A lot of people say that, and you're like, try again.
Right.
But I know you've really done it. So what if the part of you that's
Mm.
like, no, this is valuable. Stop trying to get rid of me. No, you need me. No, please embrace me.
Mm.
And the crying comes from the misalignment, the injury of the misalignment. Like when we
Mm.
stub our toe, we cry. And also feel sorry for myself when something like that happens. But it's the crying is the energetic response of the misalignment. So makes so you're familiar with Abraham Hicks. So she says, Esther
Oh
says,
yeah.
and Abraham says, the negative emotion, air quote, because we know there's no bad emotion. The negative emotion is the indicator
Right.
of the misalignment. So when it's
Mm.
trauma tears, we do the crying and we do the work, and at least we can come to peace with it. Some things that happen to us are never, ever, ever going to be okay. Like they're not,
Right.
they don't even need to be, you don't even need to go down the forgiveness road if you don't want to, like for people who have those kinds of traumas. But um I just it feels to me like that there's misalignment that creates this emotion in your system saying there's value here. When you feel that emotion, you touched your throat, you feel it right here. And what's trying to be spoken? Blank slate. Nothing you've what are you trying to speak? Just imagine that a few seconds ago and feel it like hit you in the back of the jaw or wherever, you're gagging on it. What needs to be
What's trying, yeah, what's trying to speak when you just asked me that question was I just saw like screaming, like a rage. Um and not just rage as in anguish, but rage, righteous rage in a way. Like pay attention.
yeah,
Like wake the fuck up. Like this
yeah,
system is so broken that the
Yeah.
system that I have been a part of for my entire life.
Right.
How I got into a family and then how I formed a family. It's like, it's so fucking broken.
Yeah.
And and I don't think I know that this work is coming back to me because I'm supposed to be a voice for it. And it's scary as shit,
How come?
you know.
Which piece is
Uh, all the pieces.
okay?
Yeah, I mean it's, talking about my own, experience as a kid, talking about my birth mom just died 2 years ago, and I'm still
Sorry.
like
Yeah.
barely even processing that. And and this is a whole nother thing, which I don't mean to go down the rabbit hole, but within the adoption community, which I've really just kind of gotten myself immersed back in over the past year as I've been writing this reunion book, there's so much anger at adoptive parents. Saying that, adoptive parents are baby buyers and they are
Oh,
perpetrators of the system. I mean, most people don't know this,
I
but
didn't know.
adoption is a most people don't know this, but in this country and actually around the world, in Australia and New Zealand and other countries as well, it's a multi-billion-dollar business.
I didn't know that.
I mean, there is so much profiteering that happens off of adoption, and it's all in service of adoptive parents. And so here I am sitting at the crossroads of both. Now 15 years ago when we went into this with Riley, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't fully understand that. I knew I wanted to be a mom and I knew I was an adopted person and I knew I couldn't have a biological child. And I thought, well, maybe this is the path. Maybe this is how it's supposed to be for me. Who better to adopt a kid than someone who's adopted, and who understands. And yet now I see that the whole system is so broken. And we should really be focused on family preservation, you know? Um, so that's a lot to, I mean, it's really complex stuff to unpack. And so that's where it's like part of me, like I want to be visible and have my voice be heard. And then part of me is afraid of people throwing stones and going, well, you're just as much a perpetrator as you are a victim.
Calling you a
Um,
hypocrite.
so yeah. Oh,
I don't think that's a rabbit hole. I think it's related. Um, so those are valid fears because they will happen. Like we just talked about it. First of
yeah.
all, in human design,
Right.
you're aligned five, and I don't have your chart in front of me, but what you can do, because I know you know some about it, is go look at the gates that are defined in your throat and gear your
I'm completely open throat.
no gates.
I don't have any gates. No, completely open.
Okay. So then you can do whatever you want. Um, which, okay, I can feel mm, the massiveness of what you're stepping into. And the fear makes sense to me, and the hesitation makes sense to me. It's big. And also I know
Yeah.
you're capable of it. But so which part in you needs to be unified? Where do you need reunion in yourself?
That
Teach,
is exactly what I'm teaching. I mean,
of course. Well,
hello,
that's,
just,
I mean,
yeah.
of course.
Thanks for
You're,
throwing it back to me, Michelle.
you're welcome. Boop. Yeah, it's of course, right? It's easy for me to see because I'm not the one having to go through it. But where is it?
Right.
Where's the fracture?
The word that pops in is forgiveness. I need to forgive myself for what I didn't know, but I know now, you know.
Has everyone else been forgiven? Birth mom, your parents? Not that you have to.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think so. I mean, I think they all did the best they could in the circumstances. I mean, I was never really angry at my birth mom. She was angry at herself. And I remember an early conversation in the early years. She said, why are you not mad at me, Elizabeth? And I said, because you were a victim of the system. You know, in
Yeah.
1970, our society didn't support unwed single mothers.
They
Just
still don't.
didn't. And I,
They still
well,
don't.
true, true. Um, and yeah, so I never was like crazy mad at her. Um, that said, I have had and continue to have anger show up over the years as I spend time with my birth family and I feel ripped off, you know, because I've been really blessed. And I so know this. I've been so blessed to have such a great reunion with my birth family. And I think you remember I have 11 half brothers and sisters.
Yeah, yeah.
And and I have relationships with every single one of them, and which is like a full-time job in
I
and of
bet.
itself.
The
Um,
group chat must be nuts.
but yeah, but you know, every time I'm with them or spend time with them, I leave and I just have this deep grief, and then I get pissed. I'm like, I should have had this. This is what 98 or 9% of the world has, you know, is knowing people that are their people, you know, their genetic connections and their lookalikes and all of that. And adopted people would get robbed of that. And it's really shitty.
Yeah.
So,
I hear even though there's pain there, you understand it. I don't feel any knots in that or tangles in that. That it feels like
no,
clean pain.
no,
You know where it's coming from.
it's
You know.
clear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
It's
it's
clear pain.
clean.
Yeah. So, where's okay, so where is the fracture in your energy field? Is it between mind and body, heart and soul? Like, where's the part that we need to reunify?
That's a great question. Yeah, and that's pretty clear because for me, like I know on a soul level that this is all divinely ordained. Like I am very clear about that. I came in, I had a contract, a sacred spiritual contract with my birth mom who agreed to bring me in to my mom. Um, and I believe that Riley and I have that contract, my daughter and her birth mom. I mean, I really do know that.
Part of you
But
does,
I'm not sure I completely embody that. Right, right.
right? Because
I'm not sure I totally
what
embody.
I'm
It's like there's
hearing
a
is, what I'm hearing is part of you knows that, and another part of you is not on board with that.
correct. I think
Yeah.
that's accurate.
So which part's not on board with it that hasn't been witnessed enough?
I don't know. My
Okay.
little girl, my
Where in
yeah,
your,
that I mean,
when we talk, so it
mm,
feels like I don't do internal family systems, but I've always done parts
mm,
work because that's us as human. I guess I'd fall more in the Jungian camp. Not that internal family systems doesn't do that, but I'm not a therapist, just not practicing
right.
therapist.
But yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. So it feels like a part of you is outside the circle. If we want to think about, I don't know if you've done my campfire council meditation, but it's a meditation where you put yourself around a campfire and you invite all the parts of you in. that you believe in. So guides and angels and little girls and teenage selves and all the parts. And the image I'm seeing is you around that campfire. I use that procedure a lot. And off in the shadows is a part of you that looks like primal in sort of like feral, like a feral child. Those when we found feral children in history, like their hair is wild and
Yeah.
they're grubby and they don't have speech really. Um,
Like Jodie Foster in Nell.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like that part is mad and outside the campfire circle. Uh, What do you think or how do you feel about that?
Yeah.
It
Um,
feels bitter,
yeah. And I think that, I'm sorry, what was the question?
bitter, bitterness.
Bitter. No.
That's okay.
It feels like a combination of um, fear and longing. You, you know, wanting to be in the circle,
Mm.
but terrified to do so. You know, almost like being afraid to be burned.
So an exact mirror image of wanting to be out there as a advocate, but afraid of being burned.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yes.
longing to step into the fray and give that righteous rage a channel. Because it's
Yes.
justice, but also what it's going to cost.
Right.
What's it going to cost you? And
Right.
does the mission outweigh the cost?
Yes.
So let's just have a chat with that little part then, because that's where it's sourced. This flippy floppy and around about the book and stuff is sourced in this part that yearns for the inclusion and yearns to do the thing it's here to do and all the stuff. So what's needed? What does it need? What does she need? What does it need?
What I heard in my head in response to that was that no matter what happens, you're okay. You know, you're not only okay, but like you're safe, you're worthy, you're whole.
Yeah, this is not about worthiness at all. This is about
Yeah, it's about safety.
say it's safety.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Am I gonna step out on this tightrope and fall? Or are angels gonna hold me up?
Well, and so then to your question about what is needed, a safety net, and I have a safety net, but maybe I haven't really connected with what that is. Like spending some time. I remember one of my very first coaches 25 years ago when I became a coach, and I was going through a divorce and I was moving and just things were crazy. And she had me draw a picture of myself with a safety net underneath. And then in the safety net, I had to like write in all the things, you know, people, circumstances, situations, whatever that made me feel safe. And I swear I kept that. It was like a stick figure drawing, but I kept it on my fridge for like 3 years.
Okay.
I
So
think I need
let's
to draw another safety net.
well, and in this moment even, can you how does can this part come inside the circle? Like what does it need to come inside the circle?
Mm.
Like we have a little feral animal part trying to do an adult righteous rage channel kind of job. She can't do that job. She's not equipped.
Right,
She has no resources.
right, right.
Like what, who would blame her for being like, no, thank you. I don't want to go down this road. I'm going to hang out here in the shadows. I don't want to participate in that. So if we conceptualize this as that, the imagery of that core wounding, that primal wound, that severing, what does this part need? What kind of resources does it need to come inside the circle to see all the other energies and people and children and everybody you're going to touch that are on the spiritual level already gathered around that campfire? Does this make sense?
I just saw it. Yep, she just saw. She needs to see all the other feral children who have stepped within the circle and who are saying, "We did it, and you can too."
Yeah, that's making my eyes
And
water.
there are a lot of them.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
My eyes are
Oh,
watering up. You're going to make me cry.
I know. No, but and that's been one of the beautiful things for me about networking in the adoption community over the past years. I've been writing this book. I've met some really powerhouse people who have done their work. Um, and I just, yeah, I just need to sort of connect with them, whether it's actually, physically calling or emailing or whatever, or just, energetically being like, oh, well, Liz did it and Astra did it and Jean did it. And, all these wonderful people that I've met and go, oh, it's sort of like, have you ever done, uh, what do they call it? Outdoor, like team building games, like
Oh,
adventure
like,
games and stuff,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
where
yeah.
I forget what it's called, but
I know what you
you're
mean.
like high
Yeah.
ropes and low ropes and all that kind of
Ropes
stuff.
course and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I remember, have you ever done the pamper pole where you have to climb to the top of the telephone pole and you have to then stand on top of it and then jump off of it
I was
to
lucky
get
enough
it, grab a
to,
trapeze?
I was a coach that took guys through the ropes course, but I never did it myself because
Okay.
that sounds crazy. I was like, you go
So
ahead.
I'll coach it,
You
but
go ahead and now just jump off that. Oh, you can do it. I was cheer led. I was a cheerleader.
I love it. So I have done both. Also coached it and also jumped it myself. And yeah, and I remember when I did it. So this is such a great analogy for stepping into the circle. Um, yeah, and I needed a ton of encouragement, and I needed to stand there and watch all of these other people go and do it and conquer their fears. And then once they did it, I was like, okay, I can do this too. And then when I got to the top, I mean, I think I stood on top of that damn pole for like 15 minutes. Come
Yeah,
on, Elizabeth, you can do it. And I was like,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. But I eventually did. So
yeah, yeah. So this circles back to
yeah.
what a little brief thing we talked about a few minutes ago about you being the template, the model as the adult for the youngsters who don't know, who feel her in the thick of it, right? And you're out there going,
Yeah.
it's okay. Like you can do this. There is another side. It does end. It does get better. Like all things are possible. And you're standing there as a model, so you've got this part inside of you that's exactly playing that out. Like that part, like you just said, that
Mhm.
part needs a model. It needs to understand that
Mhm.
there's a lot of risk involved. And also, there's a campfire circle full of energies to protect and support.
Mm,
You see what I mean?
I do.
So what makes it,
Yes.
what? is that part, feel wherever that is in your body, is that part willing to, knowing that there's support available, is that part willing to come inside and join with this, unify with this project?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, knowing that that support is all around. I mean, I'm looking at my circle and I see all the people and beings that are there, and it's a lot. There's a lot of support
Yeah.
there.
Well, and all the people you're going to encounter, and there's the groups feel very big to me, like thousands and thousands. And if we think about it that way, you're already connected to them on that soul level. Like you already
Mhm.
know them. You just haven't met body to body. You haven't been able to
Right.
shake their hand or give them a hug, but you already have that connection. So if you consciously start to practice as you're going to sleep at night or when you're writing, like plugging into that soul connection, just like you said earlier, you know you had a soul contract. You know your mom was a player in the play. You know your daughter's a player in the play.
Yep.
You're writing this, you're creating this stage. But just as you have soul contracts that you feel so confident in, all those people are contracted with you as well. So they're already there.
Mhm.
When we're trying to do a big project, it's a very, and you know this, it's a normal human. We think we're doing it all by ourselves. And that's terrifying. We're
Right.
so crazy. Of course, we can't do a project like this all by ourselves. It's not possible.
Right.
So then your safety seeking self kicks in and is like, probably better clean out my closet. All of a sudden, organizing the garage
Done that so much lately.
is more important. Like, I should probably declutter that junk drawer. That's what's really important right now.
You just called me out over the last couple months. I have cleaned out my garage, my master closet,
Oh,
my
you've done all of it.
office closet, done
Well,
all of it.
yeah. And thank
I'm
God.
not gonna write. I'm not gonna write this damn book.
Yeah. Ew. Who wants to do that? But, I mean, but in a way that speaks to the health of your system. If you don't really have resources that you can rest in and the confidence that they're there, then it's a healthy thing to push away from the book and go clean the garage. Like that is a healthy system. That's like we can't handle this. We can handle the garage. So go do the garage. That's good. That's a good thing. That's a system that is protective
Mhm.
and is preservative and is like, you don't have, you can't do this. Go do that. So when you think about
Yeah, I see that.
writing that book and getting on stage, you know, is that normal scary or does it still feel like, no, I can't?
Oh no, I'm ready, or I'm getting ready. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's time. It's time. I mean, I don't know if I had shared this with you, but I had a whole business plan back in 2005 called Adoption Reunion Coaching and Consulting. I
Um,
had a I had a business partner, I had a business plan. We have this whole strategic plan worked out. We worked on it for probably a year and then backed away from it. And it wasn't time. So it's not leaving me alone. So I got to do this. I'm sort of in the final, I don't know, 5 to 10 years of my career, and like I have to do this. It's not an option. So,
yeah. So when you check in with that little part that was outside the circle now, Where is it?
She's just inched up to the edge of the outside. So she
What
was
I
like way
see.
back in the woods and there was a
Yeah.
circle, and now she's like right up at the edge, kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah. The image I saw was like of standing up instead of crouching, but like coming in, like putting a hand on your shoulder, like, okay, well, let me, like, tell me more. Show me more.
right. Yes.
There's a
Yeah,
willing.
kind of like peering over.
Yeah.
Yeah, peering over people's shoulders, like, what's
Yeah.
happening here? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we need is the willingness.
Mm-hmm.
And it is scary. It will be scary. When you start going down the speaking path, that's going to be scary. And your nervous system is going to react negatively to that. You're going to be butting up against that safety seeking self and having to walk your way through it.
Right.
But I feel like that is all that one little tweak really is all that was needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel a shift in my body just from when we got on the call 45 minutes ago. Like
Yeah.
I came in and I was kind of like, "Ooh." And I'm feeling a settling and an alignment, um, which to me, is indicative of like truth being spoken. Truth being spoken, you and me, it's like, oh, okay, we're on the right path here.
Yeah. So that's exactly what I meant
Yeah.
about the tears being an indicator of misalignment, not trauma. Your body's saying, no,
Right.
that's not true. This isn't true. We're not weak. We're not, whatever words you use, weak wasn't one of them, but we're not scared. We're not this. We're not that. It's the not truth being spoken, and the tears come of like the misalignment, really. That's really all it is.
Right.
It sort of lets us know
Yeah,
that
that's super
our
helpful.
fear has taken over. We're speaking out fears and they're not true. And
Hmm.
the body can shout about that with a tear response and the throat response. Like what's coming out of the throat in this moment is out of alignment and it's not true. And then you get it aligned and you're
Right.
like, oh, yeah, this is no big deal. Like I know how to do this. I'm ready. It's time. I wasn't ready before and now I'm ready. Put me in coach.
I literally just wrote that somewhere, as that's going to be something I'm going to write about. It is, I wasn't ready before, but I'm ready now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and all those families have to respect the timing. Yeah, those kids have
Hmm.
to respect the timing because I would imagine that the mind can really push and try to push people through and push people before they're ready to make those connections or to override a birth mom who's saying, "No, I don't want this" because she's not ready. Um, Timing is a
Right.
huge thing here, and respect. And then the grief.
Yeah.
I mean, what an amazing thing you're doing. And so I see you like around the world. So your international travel will be paid. Think this through.
I like
Think
that.
this through. So a book is a key that opens doors. Yeah. So you get the book and then you start traveling the world, speaking at wherever they'll let you speak. And maybe they don't pay for all of it. Maybe they don't pay for any of it. But the money doesn't generally come through the book. It comes through the web
Right.
around the book.
The connection.
Yeah, the connections.
Yeah.
And also practice asking what their budget is. Here's my book. I'd like to
Yeah.
send it to
Yeah.
you. And if they say, we'd like you to come speak, you say, okay, what's your budget?
Yeah.
Let them give you a number. Let them offer to pay for your travel
Yeah.
expenses to come to Australia or wherever. Do you want it?
That's what I was just thinking. I'm like, oh, I want to go to Australia.
Yeah, Australia was popping in. That's not really a place I've ever wanted to go. So I think it's like it feels Australia-ish. And also I think there'll be opportunities anywhere that you want them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then one of the practices is to get in your circle of support, your bucket of resources, and then go ahead and imagine so you can trigger your nervous system when it's really safe, people attacking you and calling you a hypocrite, whatever your worst fears are that people are going to say to you, the things that are going to really like zing and make your stomach cramp up and stuff, all those things. Go ahead and start imagine them coming at you. Like that's okay. So that you can feel that hit and go and breathe into it and go, let me call on the souls of all the people involved in this project. Let me give myself the support I
Mm,
need to go, yeah, that hurts. When people say crappy things to us, it hurts. And it's okay. They're just people saying crappy things. It doesn't mean anything. They're
hmm
wounded people living in their mommy's basement, or wounded adopted people, or adoptive people who have their own shit to deal with. And you say, yeah, that's okay.
hmm
Go ahead, bring it. I'm fine. I'm on a mission. I'm well resourced. I've got time and money and love and
mm,
the souls of all these people and children throughout time and space and all the dimensions and all the things. Like anyone ever in all the time and space that's ever had this wound, for whatever reason, mom dies in childbirth, child dies in childbirth, uh, children used to get taken away and put in at other families, royal families, traded children all the time. Nobody cared if the queen was sad about it. They didn't care. They need to put a kid over in this kingdom. And then you might get another kid, but it's not your kid. Like this is a multi-dimensional. Does that make sense? Uh,
hmm
time, space, all the things. So we know what's typical for somebody on a mission to experience with the criticism and stuff. So go ahead and start handling it now. So by the time it really happens, it'll
hmm
happen a whole lot less when you're prepared for it. And then when it does
Right.
happen, when someone says you have pocket responses, you're ready to go with what you want to say. You're ready to know
hmm
how to respond or if to even respond. Like you're going into a battlefield of sorts.
Right.
So just like any soldier, you train for injury in advance.
Mm, love that.
Yeah.
hmm
So
Yeah.
what would you
And,
say?
and then also,
Go ahead. Also,
I was going to say, and also, what's the phrase? Prepare for the worst and expect for the best.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and to, not necessarily put my energy towards, oh, okay, come on, all the haters and all the critics and all the judges, like, come on, be like, no, okay, like, I know my mission, I know my message, I know who I'm here to help. And if there's a couple folks in the outskirts, then I can deal with them.
yeah,
But stay focused on why I'm doing what I'm doing and who I can help.
yeah. And just go ahead and
Yeah.
prepare what to say. So if someone's like, you're a
Yeah.
hypocrite or
Yeah.
whatever, how are you going to answer those people? And how will you
Right.
decide who is available for an answer and who you just need to block and delete? Some
Right.
people say something awful and they're available for change. And some people are just saying something awful because they're a bot or they're not available
Right.
to change. They're just not open to it. So think about like, how am I going to tell what's going to let me know if I need to take my time and energy and respond to this person? You'll probably know in the moment, but you would use your human design
Yeah.
authority, who gets an answer and who doesn't.
Right.
So what
Yeah.
else? What questions do you have about that? That's pretty big.
Yeah, I don't know that there is much else.
Yeah.
We covered a
I think
lot of
we're
ground
done. Yeah, I
in
think
that
we've
time. Yeah.
fixed it. We fixed it.
Yeah. And I just want to say I really appreciate the campfire circle
I'll send you that.
metaphor.
I'll send you that recording.
And yeah, that would be great. And just the feral child. And I think what was really helpful for me was realizing like, oh, I'm not the only feral child that ever lived. There's a lot of us,
Yeah.
like and and
Yeah.
there's comfort in that, knowing I'm not the only one.
Yeah, you're not alone. And
Yeah,
when we're hunched over like that in that painful pose, we can't see all the support that's right around us. We can't see it. We're looking down here. We're curled up, covering ourselves in a protective pose. So we have to remind ourselves, like, I'm not alone. Where are my resources? Physical resources, actual, embodied people resources, but also where are my ancestors? Where are my angels? Where are their, I mean, it's not, I mean, it's such a giant crowd, right? All these people and
it is.
all their ancestors, and like millions and millions of energies here that you get to dive right into and plug into. So you should never feel tired. If you feel tired in this process, you're unplugged. Yeah.
Mm, mhm.
If you go to
Yeah,
a speaking event
yeah,
or
that's true.
you're done writing for the day, you might have that normal physical, you've been sitting all day or whatever, but you shouldn't feel bone tired, exhausted. If you do, then you're just unplugged. So just plug yourself back in.
Right. Yeah.
Yay. Let me
This
know.
has been so incredibly helpful.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. Um, Let me know when that book is ready so I
I
can
will.
put it on my social media and then, just help you start connecting to people if I can.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, if you know anybody who is living in adoption reunion,
Yeah.
I'm still interviewing people for my book.
Okay.
Um, so think about anybody, friends, clients, family, whatever. I'm talking to anybody in the adoption constellation. So adopted people, biological parents, adoptive parents, but also siblings and spouses and grandparents, because, as we know, adoption impacts so many people,
Yeah.
not just, you know, the immediate circle. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like there is people, so I'll put that out and
yeah,
see and
yeah,
just connect people. So just send people to your email.
yeah.
Uh, do you want that in the description of this video?
Um, yeah, I can probably do that. Yeah, I'll give that to you later and we can include that in the bottom of the write-up. Yeah.
Here's what I'd suggest to avoid getting inundated.
Okay.
Well, let's wrap this up and then we'll talk about that part. You're
Yep.
good for now?
Yeah, yeah,
And
that
that's
sounds good.
part of it. Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
I am great. Thank you.
Okay.